Hey, what's up guys, Rockskull here, and today I got a juicy video for you all where I'm going to be talking about the history of 6v6 versus 5v5 in Overwatch, to find out which is the better format. For the newcomers, 6v6 was a format that was exclusive to Overwatch 1. It was often built on the idea of 2 tanks, 2 damage characters, and 2 supports. Eventually, on Overwatch 2's release, it was changed to the 5v5 solo tank format we still have today. I know this is a very controversial topic, especially with this recent patch, so I'm going to be taking more of a neutral stance for the majority of this video. We will be taking a look at the history of both sides, so you can form your own opinion with all the information I show. Then at the end, I'll give my own thoughts for any of you who are curious. 6v6 actually had what I would consider 2 major format phases. The first part I'm discussing here is the open queue phase that lasted for quite a while in Overwatch 1. In Season 1, there's actually no hero limits at all in the game too. This meant you could have something like a 6 stack of Bastions that just went sicko mode versus the enemy team. This phase only lasted about a month though, before quickly being removed to just open queue with a 1 hero per team limit. From what I can tell looking back on footage from back then, the main reason they did this change was because of the crazy stall tactics you could do with hero stacking. There was a common strategy of 2 Tracers and 2 Lucios on pro meta team compositions, and all they would do is infinite stall into the point until they got ultimates to win. There's also the factor of just having multiple of the same hero on one team ruining hero dynamics for many. Like I heard people say having multiple Tracers makes it really hard to deal with, and pretty much doubles their strengths. After this was removed, a good amount of the main meta seemed to actually be 2-2-2 compositions. When I say this, I of course mean 2 tanks, 2 damage characters, and 2 supports. The main metas that stand out and I want to talk about for this video, though, are the triple tank meta of Season 3, triple DPS of Season 4, quad tank of Season 8, and of course the triple tank, triple support GOATS metas of the later seasons. The first triple tank meta was actually purely a thing because of Ana's release. She had the capability then to keep the 3 tanks alive, and was able to build Nano Boost so quickly, which was a fight-winning ultimate. The crazy part about it then was that Nano could give a speed boost, and when given to a character like Reinhardt made him pretty unstoppable. She got nerfs moving to Season 4, and on top of that, big Mercy buffs paved the way for a triple DPS meta to come up. This strategy revolved a lot around the old Mercy Res ultimate, where you could literally resurrect the whole team. Team dies on point, Mercy comes out of the shadows and brings them all back. After this wacky meta got patched out, things were mostly the 2-2-2 compositions for a while, mainly because of dive. But then when Season 8 rolled around, we had the big beefy quad tank meta. From what I can tell, this meta mainly came up due to Mercy getting heavily nerfed, which made Moira the primary healer for the time. There was also big hog buffs around Season 6 that made him a very solid pick to throw into a big beefy tank composition. The idea of this comp mainly was to speed boost the team onto the objective with Lucio, and then Moira just spam heals onto the 4 tanks to keep them alive. After this, we mainly see average 2-2-2 compositions again until we reach around Season 13, the GOATS meta. This was a very iconic composition that ran triple tank and triple support. It got its name from an NA Trials contenders team who absolutely destroyed other teams with this composition. This mainly became a thing because of Briggs' release, and the simple idea of this comp was a lot of heals, tanking, and isolating a target to focus down with this unstoppable force of a comp for the kill. This meta pretty much dominated the game up all the way until Season 17. The devs finally decided to put the giant banhammer on the meta by introducing role queue into the game. Role queue made it so you had to queue up for one of the 3 roles, damage, tank, or support, and now guaranteed you got a game with the 2-2-2 composition. A fun thing I thought I should mention is that the damage role was actually split in 2 for a while before role queue. It had an offense and a defense category, but was eventually merged when the devs realized people usually just combine the 2. The devs' reasoning for introducing role queue into the game was to help ensure Overwatch matches continue to be fair and fun well into the future, and create an environment that fosters teamwork and encourages players to bring their very best to every match. Upon role queue's release, it was clear to many that tank was the least favorite role. If you ever flex queued competitive, it was pretty much guaranteed you would get tank. This was most likely mainly due to tanks taking the brunt of the damage / CC that was in the game at the time. It's important to note, though, that Overwatch 1 had a lot more CC than Overwatch 2 has. Things like Cassidy's stronger stun, Sombra's longer hack, and Briggs' big shield bass all did major stuns to you. Also with role queue's introduction was also the introduction of Sigma, which brought about the dreaded double shield metas. These of course, as the name implies, had the 2 best poke shield characters at the time, Sigma and Orisa. Orisa of course having a shield back then if you didn't know. These 2 combined made the shields pretty much unkillable, and on top of that could also poke you through it. Orisa did fall out of favor from time to time, but metas with Sigma in it lasted pretty much all the way until Overwatch 1's death in Season 35. Sigma was just super overtuned on release, so he kinda dominated the metas for a while. There was also just a lack of patches in general for the game, as the devs were working on Overwatch 2. Then finally, the devs ended up again putting a huge banhammer on the meta by introducing 5v5 in Overwatch 2, which only included 1 solo tank. Looking back at one of the first live streams where the devs talked about 5v5 as a concept, one of the main reasons Aaron says they removed one tank was due to just the visual clutter on the battlefield. He goes on to say there's already so much going on with Overwatch, and removing 2 players makes things easier to read. He also adds that tank abilities are so impactful that comboing them was often too much, and removing a tank would also give players more room for solo playmaking potential. 5v5 has persisted for all of Overwatch 2's life cycle, and has had no major format changes since. The only thing that has sorta returned from Overwatch 1 was open queue being a main option for people to play now if they want, but it's in the 5v5 format. People's thoughts on 5v5 have seemed mixed since its release, with many people saying things like counterpicking and tank becoming even less fun with this format change. Things recently heated up so much, Aaron himself announced he's going to do a dev blog discussing it. The dev blog isn't out yet as of me making this video, so I'll be sure to include a summary of it in the comments when it comes out with my own thoughts. My guess on what this is going to be, though, is just them sticking to their guns and probably mentioning again the problems with 6v6 they said before. Now we are on to the section discussing my personal opinion on things. Remember, these are just my opinion, and there's no need to get angry with it and other opinions people have in the comments. I just want everyone here to have a civil debate discussion on things, and not start fights over a goofy video game. Anyway, with the disclaimer out the way, let's get into my actual opinions. First off, I want to speak on the hero limit / open queue removals. Now I personally think the reasons on why these 2 particular things were removed are pretty justified. Like, even with how fun it seemed to be, it was clear having multiple of the same heroes on a team was a major problem looking back, and I can't imagine this being in modern Overwatch. For open queue, I think the dev's reasoning is more likely true in this regard. Even with how busted GOATS clearly was, role queue benefited the average ranked experience a crap ton in my opinion. I remember constantly running into games where we had like 0 supports, a hog player, and 5 DPS. Extremely frustrating not getting to play what you wanted to play at times too, due to you feeling forced to switch to a balanced composition. I'm personally thankful that role queue is a main part of the game, and open queue still being an option for people who enjoyed it is nice. Now onto the juicy 5v5 versus 6v6 debate. I think I still take more of a neutral stance on it, but I'm leaning slightly towards 6v6 probably being a better option in the long run. As a tank player, 5v5 just has had so many major issues with its introduction for me. One of the main ones being some tanks just not fitting well into this format to this day, and counterpicking being such a constant major issue I'm not sure it can ever be solved. With only one tank player on the field, it makes counterpicking fairly easy since you don't have another fellow tank player to help cover up your weaknesses. Also, since you are the only tank, it feels like you get hit with every possible CC ability in the game, which is just the same experience as before, and never feels great. I also was just a huge fan of those old tank synergies back then. Doing things like Ryan Zarya, Diva Winston, etc. was just so fun, and I would love to see how things combo for the new tanks. For some of the arguments the devs had upon 5v5's release, I can see their POV, but I think the upsides of 66 outweigh the issues they mentioned. Visual clutter and solo playmaking potential can still be problems in 5v5. As for tank ability combos being too strong, it is true to a degree, but I think it was very balanceable. Like, the reason something like double shield existed for so long, in my opinion, was just because of the lack of balance the game had. I think it was very fixable, and the devs were just going through their struggles with Overwatch 2's development, while Overwatch 1 was just pretty much left to rot for a couple years. One thing I want to admit as a worrying downside to 6v6 is DPS possibly feeling pretty bad again. I remember the days of DPS definitely being the weakest role in the game back in Overwatch 1, mainly because of them always being outclassed by supports and tanks. With one less tank in the way, I admit they definitely have felt a lot better for me in Overwatch 2. Still, the major problems of tank counterpicking, lack of synergy, and some tanks still just not feeling right to this day outweighs it for me personally. Also, the last role I haven't mentioned yet, support, I think would benefit a lot from 6v6 being a thing again too. One of the main problems supports have seemed to always run into for Overwatch 2 is just being super vulnerable. Not having a second tank to protect / peel for you feels rough. I remember on the release of Overwatch 2 they were super weak too, only finally gaining some power upon buffs to the support passive. I still think to this day, though, support feels a lot more rough than it used to be. For a summary of my opinion here, I do slightly like the idea of 6v6 over 5v5, but I do still clearly see the issues it had back then. I think I would just want the devs to at least try 6v6 to see how it really feels with all the changes Overwatch 2 has had. The quickest way I think they can test it is by doing one of those quick play hacks. In it, they can nerf tank HP pools similar to Overwatch 1, and look over the sustain cooldown potency on each tank on the switch to 6v6. It most likely needs more intricate tweaking down the line for balance, but I would say this is a good starting point at least for us to test the feel of, while not being too hard on the devs to implement. Other than that, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about for this major format debate. You can let me know your thoughts of this whole thing in the comments. But again, just remember to be civil about this whole thing. Thank you all for the support as always, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
Rock skull. All I want to do is stream all night. Lobby full, rock skull. Never gonna play with me, but it's alright.